That's just sad.
All right. What order are we gonna do the 3 points in? So I'm gonna say
How do you format it normally, Prom? Like, how does it go?
We kind of
we
wing
just
it,
talk. We just fucking
We
talk.
literally just talk.
All right.
That's why the quality is
really.
not good. Um,
We just like just kind of just have a chat.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
all right. We'll get.
But how
we'll
come
get
like we have like three separate points?
That's just so we don't get distracted, and anytime we get distracted, we move on to the next point.
Okay. But like we'll
Because-
we'll all talk about each point, right? Or like we'll all chime in.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try to. We want to keep the video under 10 minutes. All right. Welcome back to Lockdown Sports. It's Saru, Jono, and myself. Load management, NBA, let's talk about it. Now, you've seen the blowouts, you've seen the 150, 170. I don't care how many points it is, I'm not watching it. You've seen the games, and it's starting to get a bit concerning when your favorite player isn't there, and turns out your favorite player is Jimmy Butler. I thought I was unique, but turns out me and that kid have a lot in common. Let's talk about it. Saru, where's your head at? Load management, NBA, talk to me.
Yeah, I think JJ Redick podcast talked about it really well. It's becoming a problem so big in the whole NBA, and we have the new collective bargaining agreement coming up soon as well, so it's going to come up. But it's kind of interesting that the point that keeps coming up is whether it's the players' fault or whether it's the teams and the analytics' fault. And I guess we've got to pick a side, and different people say different things, and I don't know which side is the correct side.
You know, like we've seen in the past, right? We blame players for how they want to manage their injuries. You've seen Kawhi Leonard at San Antonio, few of these situations, and then you see the opposite where teams aren't really willing to let a player play. Like Jimmy Butler, obviously, just has those sort of moments of load management. A lot of the Miami team in and out of the lineup, you'll see them play without a center for most of the season, and I think that blame can be pointed towards every side, but when we talk about load management, John, what do you think? Who's suffering from this? Because I know I'm suffering. I know everyone that's gambling on the over under lines is suffering. But who for you is the main problem there?
100%, I think it's the fans that are suffering, especially the ones who go to the arenas to watch their favorite player play. And load management, it's mainly done with superstars. They're the ones who rest their bodies on certain game days. And most fans, they can't afford to go to every game. Most parents take their kids for one game a season. If the player doesn't play, then they're left disappointed, and it really ruins the experience for a lot of fans.
Can you imagine if you did like your leukemia wish and then LeBron wasn't playing that day?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Like,
brutal. That's
like,
so
can you
brutal.
imagine?
yeah.
Can you imagine they flew you out? They flew you out, all expenses paid, and you had to sit there and pretend you were happy watching Austin Reeves and the rest of those minimum contract boys. Can you
No,
imagine?
you've got
Can you
you've
imagine?
got Wilt Davis, so it's all right.
Okay. It's like that. It's like that.
It's young
Nah, but
talent. Young talent.
I think we're getting a bit carried away with that leukemia point, but don't cancel us just yet. I think the NBA is definitely a business, but when we're talking about load management, it is the fans that suffer. And let's get away from that whole world vision point about the fans. Let's talk about how it affects the players because this is affecting, for me, how we think about all these players, all these legacies of players in the past. And because we don't really go back to the tape that often, we say, oh, those guys weren't quitters. Those guys were there day in, day out. So, do you think that's going to affect these guys right now that are skipping those games in the regular season? Affects how they win awards, maybe?
It's a good one. I think it really depends player to player. I think, like, just thinking about Kawhi's legacy, and we know he's probably the poster boy for load management, but I would never come out and say Kawhi is a bad player or a terrible player for load management. Like the resume speaks for itself, and I think that's something that needs to be considered. Like, do we actually have them against for load management? Is that like a negative point in their legacy? And I don't think so. If they're actually good enough.
I think players do get away with it though. I think you do see someone like Kawhi whose legacy does precede himself. Let's not lie. Defensively, all-time great. Offensively,
Yeah.
all-time great. Like you're looking at one
Yeah.
of the best players. But you look at the past few seasons, I'm not hearing enough apart from that Game 7 against Denver, about the Clippers and how much they've failed. Obviously, the ACL is unfortunate, but you look
Yeah.
at load management and the impact it's actually had on the Clippers. We don't talk about it enough. We looked at
Yeah.
Brooklyn. We criticized them for not being out on the court together. Three superstars. Ben Simmons not a part of those three superstars. I mean the original three. The original
He's
three.
load managing.
Just,
He's load managing.
He's load managing, is he? All right, I'll believe it when I see it. But you see that blame there. But someone like Kawhi, who basically at San Antonio started this whole thing with Popovich,
Mm.
Yeah.
this idea of load management, the idea of as well tanking and how that combines into it. I think for me, you look at all these points, it's pointing towards needing a shorter regular season. We've got really short attention spans. I'll be honest, I don't know many guys that are tuning in 82 games a season. I know even if you've got League Pass, even if you've bothered to pay $200 when the games are available on Sportsbet for free,
That's
I don't know why you're doing that, first of all, but I think a shorter season would do everyone a whole load of good. It would make the playoffs more intense. It would make the regular season everyone have to be available. The added variance means every team has to go in for it earlier. Jonah, talk to me. What do you think about that?
Well, in terms of that short and regular season, how would you format the schedule in that case?
I think the scheduling is always going to be a nightmare,
Yeah.
but I think it has to be. Would you have the same sort of schedule in terms of just make it a shorter season?
Because at the moment,
what-
you play your conference opponents 4 times a year, and then the
Mm.
other conference, it's about 2 times for each team. But
Mm.
if you shorten it to 60, then that makes it hard to schedule, and also tiebreakers for playoffs makes it a bit messy.
Yeah, I think it does, but you hear the talks about in-season tournaments. I'm not too big a fan on
Yeah,
that, but I
I'm not
think
really
you
a
can
fan
look
of
at
that
those
either.
sort of things.
Yeah, not a fan of
I
that.
think you can look at those sort of things, as well as the introduction of the playing tournament does suggest to me that we do have the option of those sort of tie-break situations and are able to solve them with a couple of games. So I'm not too fussed when it comes to that side of things, but if you
Yeah.
do shorten the regular season and reduce that 4 games for the teams in your conference down to 3 or maybe even 2, if you really want to, I think you'll see a whole different ball game when it comes to the regular season as well as the playoffs. Anyways,
I reckon
Yeah,
3
but-
is good. Yeah.
I have a question on that. If you go down to 60 games, are you paying the players the same amount? Because I wouldn't. If
What?
I'm an owner,
You-
Ooh.
you think these boys are on an hourly wage? You think these boys are on an
Oh.
hourly
no,
wage?
but if they're playing
That's a
60
good
games rather than
question.
82
Yeah.
games, I'm not
Yeah.
paying
Sorry.
them the same amount.
Sorry, they're playing 60 games right now.
No, but that's different though. That's
Yeah.
that's
It's not like they're
injury
gonna play
by the
all
injury
60 though,
base
even
where
if
the
it gets
team is
reduced.
saying things. If you're playing
If-
60 games, every single game matters. You better rock up every
If-
single game.
If LeBron James does not play all 60 out of 60 games or whatever it is, those Lakers are going to give the New Orleans Pelicans one of the greatest draft returns in all time.
Exa-
Okay,
That's
they will
that's the
play.
Lakers,
They
though.
will play. They will play, 100%. And if they don't, they'll suffer
Okay,
for
but
it.
yeah, but would you still pay them the same? If I'm an owner and I'm sitting in the collective bargaining agreement, if they
Yeah.
say something like you're going to shorten the season for 82 games to 60 games, just think from a business point of view. That means there's
Yeah.
less tickets I'm going to sell in the stadium.
100%.
Like from a
For the owners, it's
from
an
a stadium
absolute
point of
no.
view. I'm paying less as owner. Like
Yeah.
if all for like players getting
But
paid,
you
I'm
have
paying
to
less.
you have to think about the change in efficiency. If you have that shorter season and the players play more often, you look at the
Are
marketability
you
of the
spreading
league.
out the games
No,
over the
I'm not.
same time?
I think you would have to. I think you would have to. I think the NBA needs to keep fans involved over that stretch of time as it sort of sinks in separately with the NFL and all the other major sports they've got there. And of course, they fail to recognize there are other sports like football that exist in the
Yeah,
world,
but-
but that's
Yeah.
just America.
No, but the question is, even if you spread out, at the moment, there hasn't been almost a test cricket side of thing where the stadiums are empty. There's the stadiums still sell out to quite a good capacity. So if I'm an owner, it would be very stupid of me to say, "Hey, I want to play 22 less games and just take out all the revenue
So-
that I would get by selling tickets."
So you want to see Houston Rockets fans have to turn up for 82 games of this bullshit season.
They-
82
they-
They
games.
still do.
82 games of
They
tanking.
still do it.
You want them there. You want them to suffer. That Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, as Philly fans, we went through the whole process and we still
We
It's
still
you
are. We
did not
still are. We still
you
are
did
going
not
through
go
I
that
didn't
through
go
process.
it.
through the I didn't
You
go
were
through the
it.
process, but
You were it. You did not go through it. That was a choice.
yeah, but there were people that rocked up every time. We came to watch Ilya Server, Darius Saric, and Ben Simmons play games. Like we got excited about that, and
I think
I think that's
I
the
think the
question.
point stands. I think the point stands though, like the marketability, there is an upturn in efficiency when you look at shortening the season. You know, the product becomes more valuable every game, does add a bit of value. And I think when you're sitting at that table for the bargaining agreement, I think they'll both have their analytics into what that sort of looks like if it was a shorter season. How players are going to be
Yeah,
rewarded in terms of contracts, I think definitely will change. It definitely should change. You look at the amount of trade deals that are going on. I'm not sure how you boys feel about it. We'll talk about it later. Obviously, with a lot of big trades at the trade line, I think we can definitely look into that and see how that plays out with the bargaining agreement.
yeah.
Anyways, I think we'll leave it there, guys. Stay tuned, stay locked in, subscribe for more. That's our views on the NBA and load management. Subscribe for more. Cool. I think that was good.